Hey everyone, Shira here. Welcome back to my channel. So today I have for you a new art journal video, and we're going to talk about how to create amazing texture and interest to your pages with whatever you have at home or at your desk. One thing before we get started, I just want to say thank you for all your lovely comments. I love to read them, especially on the last video. You guys share your thoughts and your experience, and it actually got me really inspired and gave me the idea of the upcoming videos that I need to do. And I decided I'm going to go with the theme of make art easy. And that's because I feel like mixed media and art journaling is popular more than ever. We have so much variety and products and tools and stuff we have to have, which is obviously not true. And a lot of people don't create because of it. A lot of people just don't know where to start. They just keep on buying and buying and buying and not doing anything because they keep feeling like they're missing something to sit down and create. And that is something that I remember that I had it when I first started 4 years ago, and I still have it to this day. So we're going to change that. We're going to make art easy again and just have fun with it. When you start creating, everything becomes easier from that point on. So let me move you to the voiceover and let's get started. So today I'm starting out a new notebook that I had lying around at home. This is not a specific notebook for mixed media or art journaling, so the pages are quite thin. So I'm going to glue every two of them together and see how it's going to work. So I ripped some pages from an old book, and a few scrap pieces I saved from other projects, and I'm just starting to glue them around my spread. I don't really have a method for it. This is not going to be super visible in this project. This is just going to add another layer to my texture. So I'm not going to be really concerned about it. At this point, I wasn't sure what I'm going to do, so a layer of gesso is a great start. Now I can tell you that I probably could have waited with this layer of gesso because I'm going to add so much on top of it that it doesn't matter, because I'll need to add some more gesso on top of that as well. So I could have not do that, but again, a lot of the times when you work, when you try different things, you don't exactly know where you're going to end up with, so don't overthink about it too much. Okay, now that everything is dry, I decided I'm going to add texture with some cloth. I know a lot of people use cheesecloth. I guess in certain areas, in certain countries, it's easy to find. It's cheap. Here it's not. So my hack for it is to use gauze pads, which you can find in any pharmacy. It's super cheap. You get a lot of use out of it. And I just use one or two for each project. It usually is enough. So it's like a really soft mesh that I can play around with and thread some threads and make it look interesting. I can tell you that after everything is glued and you put paint on it, it really picks up and it looks very, very interesting. So I'm going to do that for both of the pages. But notice that I do keep in mind to leave some negative spaces, which is the areas that are going to stay white in the end, that will not have any color or any significant texture on them. And that is really just to give our eyes some relief from everything that is going on those spreads. So that is something that is always good to keep in mind. Leave some areas that you know that you're not going to put too much on them or paint on them, and basically they're going to act as the negative space for your work. My next step is to take this plastic mesh, and this is again something that I had at home. I think it's a drywall mesh or something that we had lying around from some project. Like I said in the beginning, basically you can create texture with almost anything that you have. anything that can be folded, anything that can be glued, anything that you can cut with your scissors. So basically be creative. A lot of the stuff that you have already at your home you can use to create this amazing texture. So my next step was to take a stamp and a waterproof ink, archival ink. You can use whatever brand you want, but it has to be waterproof because we're going to play with some liquid colors and inks and mists later on, and if it will not be archival or waterproof, everything will just smear together. So that's something to keep in mind. So the last layer of texture that I'm going to add is with molding paste and a stencil that I actually cut by myself using my Cricut machine. You can use whatever stencil that you have at home, and I actually really like to make my own. Even if you don't have an electronic cutting machine, you can do it, even cut it by hand with an Xoxo knife or scissors if you're really precise. So after everything is completely dry, I'm going to add some art stones on top of it. Now I want to show you here that, like everything else, you have the store-bought, the brand art stones, but you can supplement it with a lot of other things. You can supplement it with small gravel. You can supplement it with colored stones or glass beads if you have at home. You can even use those silicone balls that comes like in a new bag or a new purse. You know, it comes in a small bag. You can cut that bag and use those little silicone balls as art stones, as basically pebbles to use on your work. So there's really no limit of what you can use. I'm using here two sizes, very, very small and big ones. And I also added some glass glitter. They're not going to act as glitter, but again, their shape is kind of interesting. I wonder if we're going to see it after I'll put it on the page, after everything will be mixed. So I'm just adding some gesso to my stones. You can also use some gel medium, anything to make it really stick and glue to the page. And I'm spreading them around in certain areas. Always try to find the direction that your work is going. For me, for example, here you see that most of the focus is on the two sides of the spread, basically the opposite sides. So this is where I put the stones, because I know that afterward, when I'll put the color in, it will look better. And then I'm just covering everything with a light layer of gesso, just to help the paints kind of stick to it better. And basically this is the texture that I got so far. Now I need to really make everything super dry, because I did use a lot of materials here. The pages are quite heavy, so you can let it air dry if you have the time, or you can use a heat gun. Now we're switching to the more intuitive part, which is adding the colors. I'm using here some really old spray mists. You can definitely use watercolor instead of spray mists, especially as you can see that I don't spray them. I just use the actual ink inside, and it reacts to water, and it basically does the same job as pigmented watercolor will do. I'm just going to play around with the different colors. These actually are my favorite colors to work with. I have here like a dark espresso brown, like a mustard yellow, cool blue, and that's it, I think. Yeah, 3 colors. So 3 colors a lot of the times is more than enough on one project, because together with the water it creates all this awesome like in-between shades that you don't need more than that. You can see I'm working little by little, because again I'm kind of depend on the water and the flow of the colors. which is what I love the most. Like, this is the effect that I love the most. So I cannot do everything at once. I need to work in sections because otherwise when I tilt in a certain direction, it will affect another area that I didn't want it to be affected by, if it makes sense, hopefully. So I'm playing around with it, I'm adding water, I'm adding ink, and then I tilt it and see if I need more water or I need to reduce a little bit of the water by using a paper towel. And basically I'm letting the colors do the work. That's why I said it's really intuitive. It's not a real technique. I guess after a while you have your certain way of liking how you work, but it's not a technique. You just add water, add ink, let it spray. I can give you a tip. You see that I'm working with a heat gun at all times. I found that, especially working with mists, but it works the same with watercolor. When you want those really pretty edges, or you want to play with a certain area to be lighter and a certain area to be darker, I just manipulate it with the heat gun. So I don't let it lay flat and just wait for it to dry. I do it on purpose. I go back and forth. I tilt basically the water from here to there and dry it in the same time, and it gives a really interesting effect. So that's something that I do a lot, and it could be interesting. So if you never tried it before, give it a go and let me know what you thought. Okay, so we're almost done. One of the last steps is I like to take some ink, like edger or distress ink, really whatever you have on hand. All I want is to just give a little bit definition to my borders. What I like to do, because I don't really like black, I use black, but on top of it I use dark brown as well. So that makes it a little bit more soft, a little bit more natural, because a lot of the time black to me feels really harsh. Another cool trick that you can do, and that relates to the negative space that I talked about earlier, that when you're done, because of the gesso, because our surface is covered with gesso, we can take baby wipe and basically clean the white areas from all the splatters of the inks and the mist that we used. So the white goes back to be like not pure white, but it looks better, it looks cleaner. So we must be almost done, because I'm using my ultra strong hairspray to coat all the colors and everything on the spread. What it does, in my opinion, it just makes the colors a lot more vivid, and a lot of the times we need that when we work with watercolor or with spray mist on top of gesso. In real life it looks kind of dull, so the hairspray gives it a little bit of a sheen, and it just makes the colors really vivid and really pop. And to finish everything off is just to add some motivational quotes or motivational words. For me, I really like it, especially on days where I don't feel like doing a lot or doing anything. I flip through my art journal and just love it. You know, make today count, be you always, life is short. This is for sure something that we can all agree that it's good to live by. So that is it for today, guys. I hope you like it. This video looks a little bit different than my previous videos. I would love to hear your thoughts and comments on that. And also, if you have questions or suggestions for the upcoming episodes under the theme hashtag Make Art Easy. I really think that this is a topic that is worthwhile talking about and can make it really fun for beginners and non-beginners alike. So don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and please share it with your crafty friends in case you enjoyed it. Maybe that will give them some inspiration as well. Until next time, guys, kisses, bye.